Hello everyone and welcome back to Speaking of Social Justice. My name is Cailey and I'll be your host for this week's episode. A quintessential Australian experience looms large for many in the land down under, higher education. Yet beneath this facade we have created of being a lucky country lies a complex financial landscape with many students and graduates grappling with this burden that seems to grow heavier each year. HECS. That is HECS. From 1974, university degrees were free in Australia in order to be more accessible for working and middle class Australians until about 1989 when HECS, otherwise known as the Higher Education Contribution Scheme, was introduced. Under the original HECS, an $1,800 fee was charged to all university students, and the Commonwealth paid the balance. This was to continue providing accessible education to all, regardless of the socio-economic background of its students. Any payments were then deferred until students entered the workforce and began earning over a certain threshold. Seems pretty great. However, the current HECS situation in Australia is far from idyllic. With the rising cost of living, stagnant wage growth, the housing crisis, and the increasingly competitive job market, the burden of HECS debt has become a looming spectre for many current and former students. Now, this isn't an issue affecting us young people, grown, right? This issue affects anyone currently seeking higher education, such as mature-age students or other students who haven't been to uni in years but are still paying off their debts and severely struggling to do so. So for current students, the weight of HECS hits the moment that they enroll in their classes. I can't speak for every degree, but many are the same. Health science-based students, such as myself, need at least 5 years of study to qualify for the job that we are aiming for. Obviously, there is a lot more to it, but for me, that means I need to be in my 3rd degree before I can be registered and qualified for the field. My first year alone put me in exactly $9,866 of debt. I'm about to graduate with my 2nd degree and my 4th year of study, and I am looking at over $37,000 in HECS debt, which is now closer to 40 grand after the HECS indexation a few days ago. So as Dr. Monique Ryan, our independent for Kooyong, put it, if you are on $60,000 salary and you have an average HECS debt of about $24,771 to be exact, you would have paid off about $1,200 in HECS this year, but your debt would have increased by $1,177. Sign me up for a life alongside my fellow Australians of working hard enough to never actually make a dent in my HECS debt. Higher education really is a privilege. Now, before you immediately tune out to me because it is yet another person whining, more and more people are carrying HECS debt into their 40s. Many Australians are choosing to put off starting a family or are unable to buy a home because of this debt that is looming behind them. When we leave high school, most of us are encouraged to pursue an academic career because we need a degree for everything nowadays, am I right? So why does the government collect more from HECS debt than it does from its major fossil fuel tax? And why is it that my choice for higher education is preventing me from getting a home loan because of this HECS debt trailing behind me? So let's talk indexation. According to the Department of Education, indexation is applied to an accumulated study and training debt that has remained unpaid for more than 11 months, and it is applied on the 1st of June each year. If indexation is applied to your accumulated HECS debt on the 1st of June, your HECS debt will increase by that amount of indexation. In much simpler terms, if you have yet to reach the income threshold to start paying back your HECS in the 11 months since you first collected the debt, this debt will increase by a certain percentage, and this year that percentage is 4.74. This percent will be applied to 2.9 million past and current students. Since the first term of the Labor government, student HECS debts have increased by 16.5%. Under a Prime Minister who went to university for free. Any system that encourages people to seek higher education and then traps them in a lifetime of debt is a system that I cannot support and that must go. Most people are furious about this, including myself, with the government even acknowledging that this is a bit of a mess. So what can we do now? Monique Ryan is leading a petition that calls for a change to the HECS system with a change to the indexation used so that it is on the lower end of the consumer price index. This would mean that people's wages would be able to keep up with their HECS debt, which has not happened in the last 2 years. This petition has over 260,000 signatures on it, and I will pop that in the episode description if you're interested in checking that out. Thanks for listening. Until next time.